Hi everyone, welcome back to This Book Belongs to Pam, and today let's chat about the books that I need to read in 2025. I actually was not planning on filming this video today, but I have makeup on. I just did a book club live show for Literally Dead Book Club with Books and Lala, so I thought might as well just film it because it's already set up. But anyway, I thought we could chat about the books that I plan to read in 2025. Now this is kind of a late video. It is March of 2025. So I've already, burned 2 months, but I have actually been reading this book. So there are actually two different challenges that I'm, trying to do in 2025. The first one is a favorite of mine for some reason. It's the 12 Friends 12 Recs challenge. I'm just gonna call it like a 12-12 challenge just to make it easier because I always mess up the title of the challenge. I wanted to continue this challenge just because I love the idea of other people, like people who might know my taste, to recommend books for me as opposed to me finding books that I want to read. I did quite well last year, I would say. I read a total of 9 out of the 12 books. So there were 3 books that I wasn't able to finish. More on that later. But for now, I just want to talk about the books that I plan to read for this 12-12 challenge for 2025. The first book in this challenge is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This was recommended to me by Eman. I actually have never read any Patrick Ness. I think he is a fantasy author. I'm not quite sure. And I honestly have not looked into what most of these books are, except for the ones that I already know about. But I am interested to read a Patrick Ness book, and I'm glad that somebody recommended it to me because now I would know where to start, because I have no idea where to start with his books. I feel like he has a lot, and this one is a bit of a shorter book. It's 230 something pages, so it's a good introduction, I think, to Patrick Ness. I seriously have no clue what this book is about. I'm reading off of the synopsis right now. It seems like it has to do with dreams and things coming out of your dreams, or like when you wake up things are a bit different. I'm not sure, but anything with dreams is kind of a toss coin moment for me. Sometimes I really enjoy it and it's properly eerie and it really sets the vibe, but then sometimes I feel like it bogs down the narrative too much because we're either spending too much time in the dream and not really moving forward the non-dream world. So I don't know, it's a toss up between the two. So I hope this one is, the one where I actually like dreams in the book. I'm very curious about this one. So yeah, that is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. The next book in this one is also one that I've been very curious about. It is Tellurian Dreams by Kiara Lorea. So this is a book by a Filipino author. It's this fantasy book that deals with multiverses, like a parallel Earth or a parallel reality. And I don't know if it's gonna go into like spacey vibes, but I think it has more to do with the cosmic type of fantasy where you have karma, like karmic connections, and how that lines up with alternate realities. I don't think I've read any book like this before, so I don't have anything to compare it with, but some of my friends who have read this book have left really positive reviews, and I also attended a reading of some of the chapters of the book that was hosted by the author, so it was really fun. So yeah, I'm very curious about this book. This book was recommended to me by Kat from Kat and Angelico, so I'm hoping that I love this one, especially because I barely read fantasy books by Filipino authors. This would be a great addition to my collection if it's something that I really enjoy. The third book was recommended to me by Bea from Bea Masalunga, and it's Funny Story by Emily Henry. So this is, the latest Emily Henry. I think there's gonna be a new one this year as well, but this is so far the latest release. The only Emily Henrys that I've read are Book Lovers and Happy Place. Book Lovers, I was like so it was like a 3-star for me, but Happy Place made it to my top books of 2024. So I'm curious where this stacks up. I think based on what I've heard from other people, I think this is gonna be right up my alley. So excited to dive into another Emily Henry novel. Emily Henry does such a great job at really getting you to root for the characters. So if anything else, I hope that I like it, like more than Book Lovers. But yeah, Emily Henry, Funny Story, coming soon. And then the next one, we're kind of switching things up. So the next book is recommended to me by Eliza Lynn. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But I'll have everyone's handles in the description box below. And it is Some People Need Killing by Patricia Evangelista. So this is a nonfiction book about the drug war under the Duterte administration, and it is a very important read, I feel like, especially because there's so much propaganda, there's so much historical revisionism happening right now. So this to me is kind of required reading, and it goes through like the experiences of the people that are targeted. And it says here it's a memoir of murder in my country, because it goes through all of the extrajudicial killings that happened during the past administration. And yeah, I know this is gonna be hard hitting. I know this is gonna be a heavy read, so I feel like I need to really prepare myself for this one. But I want to read it this year. I want to make sure that I'm informed and that I can read about all of the stories of the people that were essentially oppressed and pursued during this time. It's still happening now, but whatever. That is Some People Need Killing by Patricia Evangelista. Very excited, also very scared to read this one. So the next book was recommended to me by Sash from Sash Reads. I believe it's a romantasy, which I am excited about. I haven't read a romantasy, I think, in a while. I've been mostly reading fantasy, but I don't think I've read like a true blue romantasy in a while. And this one is called These Shadows Become Her by Demi Clarissa. This is the first of the Divine Bride series, and I have no clue what it's about. Let's see. It says here, can forbidden love bloom where grief has taken root? Oh, okay. We've got a prodigy mentor situation, and then looks like this mentor kind of crushed her hopes and dreams. Interesting. I don't really want to know a lot about the books that I want to read, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I hope that it's the kind of romantasy that's like addictive, you just can't put down, because I'm really craving that kind of book right now. So this would be a good candidate for that. Yeah, that's These Shadows Become Her by Demi Clarissa. And then the next one is kind of a mean one. It's a mean recommendation, I would say. No, I'm kidding. But the next book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this was recommended to me by Stevie. This, I say, is a mean one because I feel like I need to read these other two books, Yours Truly and Part of Your World, before I go into Just for the Summer, because these are like part of this interconnected kind of series. I know that they can stand alone, but I feel like if I have these, I might as well read them before I get to the third book in these interconnected standalone series. So yeah, it's a mean one. So it's kind of like a 3-for-1. So yeah, I have been very curious about Abby Jimenez. I wanna find out if her writing is for me. Maybe I should have thought about that before I bought 3 of her books, but I got them all on the International Book Fair that I went to last year. They were on a discount, so I'm like, might as well. But that is the next one. It's 3 books. The next book recommended to me is a 5-star prediction for me, actually, and it's The Reformatory by Tananarive 2. This book has been on my radar ever since I saw it on Gavin's channel. I'll try to link that vlog if I can find it, but it has been on my radar since then. Even more so when I found out that I love historical fiction, because this book is historical fiction about the boy homes that were, I believe it's in Canada. I'm not 100% sure that. Let me just double check. But I believe it covers like boy homes and oh no, I think in the US. Is it? Yeah, it's in Florida. Okay, so it's set in the US. It covers this segregated reform school. It obviously has a lot of themes on racism, on just, you know, how these boys are treated and their, I guess, autonomy over their own bodies and who decides their fate and whatever. I'm really curious about this one. It's historical fiction, kind of horror as well. So yeah, I'm very excited. I hope I love this. I feel like I will. I feel like this is a 5-star read, and it's been recommended to me by June. So thank you, June. I was gonna read it anyway, but I'm glad that somebody else recommended it to me, because now I'm even more excited to read it. Now the next book is recommended to me by Pam from Pam Shenanigans. It's Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. No idea what this book is about. Like literally, she just said, okay, read this, and I'm like, okay, got it. This is a contemporary poetry. Ooh, is it written in verse or something? I'm not 100% sure. But I am curious. It's YA, and Oh, I think it has to do with gun violence. Oh, interesting. Gun and gang violence. So I'm very curious about the fact that it's tagged as poetry. I read Dear Medusa last year, and that's also one of my favorite books, and that's written in verse. I haven't really explored much of that writing style, so I'm curious to see how I would like this one. The ninth recommendation was given by Pam, another Pam. This one is from @reader_Pam_. So she recommended Blood Over Bright Haven by ML Wong. I have been wanting to read this. I haven't read Sword of Kaigen, but this book is something that has been on my radar. I have picked it up so many times in the bookstore, like trying to decide if I want to read it or not, but this was the push that I needed to just go for it and read it, because a lot of people have really enjoyed this one. A lot of people that I like trust their recommendations have given this 5 stars. I feel like this book is for me. So yeah, definitely gonna read it this year. That is the plan. Blood Over Bright Haven by ML Wong. I did not tell you what the book was about, but we're not here for the synopsis, guys. And then the next one is a book that has been recommended to me by Sai from The Engineer's Reading. This book is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by... Oh, okay, I should have researched this. By Zulfa Katu. So this book I have heard about from Carrie Can Read. So ever since she read it, this has been on my TBR. I just, for some reason, just keep bumping it off, or like my hold comes in, I delay it, and then when it comes back, I'm still not ready for it. This is the push that I needed to finally read this book. So I know that this is set in a war that's happening, I believe, in Syria, and we are following this medical student, or is she like a pharmacy student? Something to do with the medical field, but she's a student and she's forced to essentially become a doctor because they're in a war-torn country and there's no other doctor there. So she becomes that. And yeah, that's all I know about this book. It's also historical a bit, I believe. I don't know what year it's set in, but it definitely feels historical. So I feel like I might like it. Lots of feelings here, but yeah, that is As Long as the Lemon Trees, as long as the lemon trees grow by Zulfa Katu. Second to the last suggestion or recommendation was made by Andy from And in Pages. I think that's how we would read her Instagram handle. This is A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher or Bouchette. Oh, I should have researched this ahead of time. I think this is fantasy romance or just fantasy. The cover of the book screams like early 2000s. So I don't know when this was published, but it screams like 2005, 2006, something along those like timelines. And I think this just has to do with, the usual sort of kingdoms warring over something, and we have like this strong female heroine, which I love. So I'm really excited to read this one. I think I just love the diversity of the Recs for this challenge, honestly. So I'm very curious about this one. I think this is also part of a series, so you guys are kind of fucking me over with my reading all of the series I'm in the middle of, because I'm gonna have to start so many series because of these recommendations. Alas, I asked for the Recs and I got them. And then the last book on my list is a YA recommendation, which I haven't read like contemporary YA in a while. I actually don't know if this has any other, like if it's magical realism or something. This one's recommended to me by Ina from Books and Boy Bands. So she recommended I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. So it says here it's contemporary YA romance, which honestly have not been, doing it for me. The last couple of ones that I've read, I believe are the Fair Loot ones. They're kind of fantasy romance, I suppose, but they're more of like YA romance to me, and I haven't enjoyed those. But this one has an interesting premise because it has to do with letters. I love books with letters. I just read Divine Rivals, really enjoyed that one. So if this one has really great letters, I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it. So very curious, excited for another romance that I feel like is more hard-hitting. So yeah, that is I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. So these are all of the books that I plan to read for the 12 Friends of Recs challenge. I plan to do like a video series for this, so I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 reading vlogs just so I can for sure finish this book. We can look forward to that. I'm also excited for it. Slightly terrified, but also excited. Yeah, that is my 12 Friends of Recs challenge. The next challenge that I want to embark on is 25 books in 2025. So this is just me picking 25 books that I want to prioritize for next year. So if I read these books and obviously the 12-12 challenge books, I feel like I would have succeeded 2025. That is my game plan. I'm not gonna talk too in depth about each and every book because there are 25 of them and we'll be here forever. But I guess I'll just tell you why I'm adding this book to my list and sort of like my process. So the first 3 books on this list, I am adding them because they were leftovers from my 12 Friends 12 Recs challenge from 2024. So I mentioned earlier that I didn't finish 3 books, so I wanna put them in this list so that I can actually read them. So let me just grab that stack of 3 books. Okay, the first one. Let's start with the biggest one first, shall we? Priority of the Orange Tree. I started this in December and I made it up to page 112, and I'm actually really enjoying this book. I am actually really engaged, and that 112 pages I read in like a single or like 2 sittings. So I'm very interested about this book, and I think I can actually finish it if I just, put aside time to like sit down and read it. It's not a slog for me. I'm enjoying the world. I'm enjoying the storytelling. So this book could be for me. So I think I just need to like really prioritize it. So it's first on my list. This is how far along I am. Decent like start here. So yeah, that is Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This was a gift to me by Jessie Chamber Reads, so I really want to make sure that I read it. It's Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. I also have Hellbent behind me, so I need to get a move on with this. Also, it's a series, so yet another series that I'm starting, but I have been very interested with this book ever since it came out, so might as well just read it, So, Ninth House, Lee Bardugo, must read for 2025. And then the last one is a book that I already started reading-ish. Like I tried, but I kind of didn't get too far. It's The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Not because I don't like it, but I initially got it on Libro FM, so as an audiobook. And I would listen to the audiobook and it sounds so nice. Like the way that the narrator tells a story is so enchanting, so magical, so well voiced that I fall asleep. Like it's so relaxing to listen to. It's like a storyteller just, telling you once upon a time this and this happened, and then I fall asleep. So I feel like the audiobook was the wrong choice for me, but I do think I'm gonna like reading it like immersively with the audiobook and physically, because then I would have that magical sort of voice narrating it, but then I have words that I can look at and focus on so I don't fall asleep, because it is written so beautifully. Like the words used are so like enchanting that I am transfixed. So yeah, that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And then for the rest of the books, the other 22 books, the way that I picked them is that I went shelf by shelf on my shelves and picked a couple of books, like 3 books, sometimes 4 books per shelf that I want to read. So all of these are on my physical TBR, which is my priority for this challenge. So I decided to do it that way so I could have a variety of genres, because my bookshelves are organized by genre. So picking like 3 or 4 from each shelf gives me all of the genres that I have. So very excited about that one. Also slightly terrified now that I'm looking, like all of them are in here. You could kind of see them in the background. Slightly terrified of this list, but let's just power through them. Starting off strong with classics. I want to read Interview with a Vampire. So shiny. I love this cover so much. Anne Rice, classic, horror, gothic novel. Need to read this one. Enough said. And then I also want to read Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Marie Rilke. So I found out about this book from Emmy Reads, and it's such a tiny book and it's written in letters as well. So I'm really curious about this one, and I feel like it's gonna be an easy read but still impactful, and I feel like it's a book that I could reread again and again and find something new out of it. So yeah, Rainer Marie Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet. And then the last one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Yes, I have not read this one. It's the classic romance book, and I I want to know what the fuss is all about. I have not read any Jane Austen. I actually don't remember if I've watched Pride and Prejudice in full. I feel like I have when I was like young, but not in my like adult life. So I think I want to read this and then watch the movie as well. So yeah, Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. Must read for 2025. And then we go on to what do I want to pick up? Let's do romance. I have 3 romance books that I want to prioritize. First one, Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is such a wild card for me. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. This, I believe, is bully romance. I did read 2 Penelope Douglas books last year, which was Credence and Birthday Girl. Credence was just, whoo, that was a book. That was a very, very dirty book. Birthday Girl, on the other hand, I really enjoyed. I thought it focused less on the erotic smut scenes, but more on this relationship, which I really enjoyed. That one is about a father of my ex-boyfriend kind of trope. Punk 57, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I'm scared, but I guess we'll find out together. And then the next one is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. So everyone says that this is essentially, what was it? Is it When Harry Met Sally in book form? Like, I love the vibes of this book. I love that it's long. I'm very excited about this one. I'm probably gonna read it closer to the end of the year, even though we don't really have fall, we don't have autumn in the Philippines, we just have sun and rain. Excited about this one. I have been wanting to read from this author for a while, and that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I have only heard good things about this book and this author, so I'm very excited. And it has, like, very diverse representation as well. So yeah, Out on a Limb, Hannah Bonham Young. So those are the romance out of the way. Let's do thriller or thriller, mystery, horror, because I just lumped them all into one. I have 3. One of them is scaring me. First one is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. I know that this is more like literary rather than, thriller, mystery, horror. I have no idea what this is actually shelved as, but I am curious because I read Penance by Eliza Clark last year, and that is also more of like a literary approach to thriller or horror. Also, I know that there's like a lot of conversations to be had from this book, which I'm always down for a book that sparks discussion. So yeah, this is the first one. And then the next thriller or mystery, I need to like really look up the difference between the two. But I have Leanne Moriarty's 9 Perfect Strangers. I have not read any Leanne Moriarty book before. This one I just thrifted, so very old copy. From what I've heard, like, she does such a great job at, like, is it like a locked door mystery is what you would call it, where, I don't know, like the killer is within this like group of people or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I like the idea that there's like 9 perfect strangers. Like, what's happening with these 9 people? So I'm very curious, and I just wanna read a Leanne Moriarty book and see what all the fuss is all about. And I haven't read a good thriller in a while. So yeah, that is 9 Perfect Strangers. And then the last one, that is the scariest one of them all, and it's actually a book that has been mentioned earlier when I was doing the book club discussion as like their favorite horror book. And it's such a heavy book as well. It's House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. It's so heavy that I have to hold it like this. I have no words for this book. I'm so scared because why is this book written like this? Like, I don't know where to start. I'm so scared, but also very excited. I don't know if I have the brains for this book, but we'll see. We'll find out. I'm probably gonna do a vlog on this because this is just, I need to experience this with you all. I need you all to be there for me while I read this book. So yeah, House of Leaves this year, coming soon. And then I guess next one we'll go to literary or contemporary. I kind of just joined those two because I don't have a lot of each, so I just kind of lumped them all together. So the first one is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I found out about this book in the New York Times, like 100 best books, whatever, of the 21st century, and I believe Jack Edwards also called this book like a modern classic. Like, he thinks this will be a classic in the future, or he already thinks it sounds like a classic. So I'm very curious about this one. And oh, that font is tiny. Ah, now I'm scared. But yeah. I also thrifted this copy, so hooray for that. And then I have another like a hard hitter literary, and that's Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. So I believe that this is, I don't know if it's like a retelling, but it's kind of like in conversation with David Copperfield. But this talks about addiction, and I'm very curious about that. And I like books that like dive deep into a topic. So yeah, really excited for this one. Also, I love this cover so much. And I've also heard that Barbara Kingsolver used the some of the proceeds of this book to create like a rehab center or something like that for addicted people in the area where the book is set. So I'm very excited to read about that because I love that the author is invested as well in the people that she's writing about. Yeah. Demon Copperhead, Barbara Kingsolver. I also have Piranesi. Now, I know that this is fantasy, but I kind of want to think of it as like a literary fantasy. That's how I perceive it. This has been recommended to me by so many people. I know that this is a lot of people's favorite book as well. So I'm very curious, but yeah, it's also a short one. Piranesi by Susanna Clark. And then the last one is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is also a book that's written in verse. So it looks like I'm going to be reading books in verse. Maybe that's a video that I want to do. I don't know. I feel like this is also going to be hard-hitting. And I think I picked up this book because I heard Jamie's Library talk about how they talk about weight and body image in this book, and that is something that is very personal to me. And I think she mentioned that she really loved how it was, discussed in this book, and I just want to read that for myself as well. And yeah, this is also like a very popular book that everyone seems to like, so very curious about The Poet X. Let's go to historical fiction because I have two, and as I've mentioned last year, I have really been into historical fiction. I actually don't know if this one is historical, but yeah, it is. So this is set in Alaska, 1974. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Now, Kristen Hanna, I've heard mixed things about, but she does write kind of long, kind of historical, literary novels. Like, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I have been curious about this book because it's set in Alaska, and for some reason I'm just curious about books set in Alaska and Ireland. There's something about those two places that I'm like, I need to read those books. So yeah, this is 1974 Alaska, and we're just following, I believe, this family, and I love that. I love when we're just following this family and seeing what happens to them. So very curious about this one. It's a chunky book, but will survive. And then another one is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. So I actually pre-ordered this book because I was so excited for it. It's set in 1918 during the war, or like after the war, and it's in Canada. So I'm very curious about this one. I feel like this is gonna have a lot of commentary about the effects of war, about trauma, and like I guess the ghosts of war. That's how I kind of interpreted it. I don't know if there's like a magical realism aspect to this one. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like there is, but maybe it's a metaphor. I'm not sure. But yeah, that is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. We are down to the last two genre/category that I have. Oh my god, I almost dropped all of the books on my dog. I'm so sorry. Of course, I have my bread and butter, fantasy. I'm gonna start with a book that I've actually already read, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So I've already read this book because I'm doing my series read-along sprints on this. So slight plug, if you want to join us for sprints every Tuesdays, I do them every Tuesdays where I just read through all of my series. So this season, which is the third season, we're reading the Poppy War trilogy. I have really enjoyed this one. So many things that I liked about it as well. I'm not gonna like go into like ratings and stuff, but yeah, I enjoyed this one, and I'm really excited to see the conclusion of the trilogy. But I'm glad that one book checked off already for this list. The next one I'm a little bit more apprehensive about. It's Phantom Folk by Eliza Chan. So this is a fantasy book, and the reason why I got this is the first Illuminate book that I've ever gotten, and it's the book that made me subscribe to Illuminate for one and one reason only. It was compared to Jade City, my all-time favorite fantasy series, in my favorite shelf over here, the Greenbone Saga. If you tell me that this book is gonna give me Jade City vibes, I'm gonna read it. That's like the keys to my TBR. I feel like I'm setting it up for disappointment because I hold the Greenbone Saga in such high regard that if I compare anything to that, it's gonna fall short. So I'm worried that I'm gonna do it with this book. I hope not. I hope it proves me wrong. I hope it really gives me the Greenbone Saga vibes. But yeah, Phantom Folk, another series. I think there's 2 books out already, or the second book is coming out soon. Very curious, very excited. Kind of scared, but hopefully I like it. And then another book that I'm also slightly scared that I'm gonna get disappointed, is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. This one is the Fairy Loot edition, and I love A Dowry of Blood. Again, it's also in my favorite shelves. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's the red book right there. This one I'm scared about because I've heard so many mixed things about it, but I want to give it a try. I read, what was it, that An Education in Malice. I was just like so with that one, so I'm hoping that this one is a much better read. I'm just very annoyed that I don't like this edition because of how stark white the papers are. There's so many things I don't like about how this was constructed, but I love the cover though. But yeah, I hope I like this one. There's also a second book coming out this year in like a month or 2, that is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. And now we come on to the final stack of books for this 25 books in 2025 challenge. Obviously, I have to read Filipino books. So I have a stack of 4 right here. So the first one is Ascension by Eliza Victoria. I'm actually already in the middle of this. I'm on page 68. I brought this with me when I went to Sikihor with my friends. I actually have a reading vlog for this. I don't think it's up as of posting this video. I think this is gonna go up first, but when it comes up, then you'll be able to find out my thoughts about Ascension. So yeah, that's the first one. And then the next one is a romance, Love on the Second Read by Mika De Leon. This, I believe, is a workplace romance set in the Philippine book publishing scene. So we love that. So I'm very curious about this one. It's also kind of a short book. It's like 200 pages, so should be quick to read. And then I have The Balikbayan Artist by Eileen Artabios. This is literary historical fiction. So I love my historical fiction. The fact that it's also centering on Philippine history is a plus for me. This also was kindly gifted to me by Penguin Random House Southeast Asia. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to read this one. I have read a couple of chapters in the beginning, and I'm really liking the writing style, so hopefully I enjoy the entire book as well. And then last but not the least, and arguably one of the scariest books on this list, is Jana Silang Book 4. So this is Si Jana Silang at ang Hiwagang May Dalawang Mukha. How do I translate that? Jana Silang and the magical being with 2 faces? I don't know. The two-faced thing? I don't know. Anyway, this is a fantasy book. I believe it's is it YA? I'm not sure. But it is written in Filipino, in Tagalog, my native language, which is why I'm so scared, because I have a hard time reading in my native language. But it's also a short one. It's 300 pages. So yeah, very excited to progress with the series, especially because I think the 5th book is the last one. So I'm almost done with the series. So yeah, that is it. That is the last book in this pile of books that I have to put back on my shelves. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to me list out a bunch of books. You can call me out if I'm not reading the books that I said I'm gonna read. I'm probably gonna do some sort of reaction video to this one next year if I actually completed it. I hope I do. Future Pam, please don't judge me if I don't. You probably will, but whatever. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for letting me yap and hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!